As the life leaves your body, you awaken to a land of mists. The black void of night hangs over the land, and you stand in waist-deep grasses that sway in an unfelt breeze. Barely a foot in front of you, the landscape is obscured by thick, rolling fogs and mists. Some distance to your left, you hear the sound of a vast river flowing. Echoing through the dark, you hear the cries of other souls lost in these mists. Not close enough to see, and the mist causes sound to swirl, making it difficult to determine direction. You wander, aimless, but find neither people nor river, ever. You remember, for 2,000 years you wandered alone through this empty landscape, always lost, always mist-shrouded, always solitary. There is neither change nor variation to you or to the land. Once every century or so, you hear the sound of a great and terrible hunt happening nearby. Unearthly horses screaming in rage, huntsmen laughing riotously. You try to run, to hide. Where in these twisting mists is safe? You listen to the screams of unlucky souls run down by this unseen hunt, and wait for the nightmare to be over. Eventually, it is, every time, and every time, the solitude returns. Here is the hell of the high priest of the god of change. Unending stasis, unending solitude. Good evening, mortals. My name is Raven, and I am a dungeon master for tabletop RPGs, as well as an avid student of real-world death and afterlife folklore. The preceding monologue was an excerpt from a piece I sent one of my players, describing his reborn PC's first death after his second one. It incorporates several real-world mythological elements, the kind of thing I like to incorporate into my campaign. The PC had died to very unlucky dice rolls a few sessions previously, and it became quickly apparent that neither of us were done with the character. While there are many opinions on how permanent PC death is and should be in Dungeons & Dragons, ultimately it is up to the table and the DM. Personally, I would rather have characters alive and writhing in misery than dead and safe from the consequences. Something I like to remind my players with some regularity is that my favorite flavor is existential dread, and they should prepare accordingly. So the player and I came up with a way to bring his character back to life. With caveats. Lots of caveats. Death, after all, takes its toll. This got me thinking, would other DMs and players like to incorporate a little more spook in their games? A little more variety of the undead, the afterlife, and the pitfalls that can trip up a wayward soul? Like most DMs, I like to talk about my campaigns, and I was surprised to find most of the gamers I talked to were unfamiliar with a lot of the traditional death and afterlife stories told in our own world. I mean, it's not that surprising, really. I'm a little obsessed. Okay, I'm a lot obsessed. But all that aside, it made me think that this might be a good resource for other DMs and players. An easily accessible trove of obscure death myths from around the world, ripe for the picking. That's what I'll be trying to create with this hopefully weekly series, with suggestions on how to incorporate them into your game. Disclaimer: I am by no means pretending to represent the cultures these stories are from. Most of what I'll be talking about are commonly known stories found in a variety of sources. Most of it's probably going to be on Wikipedia. I'm a storyteller, not a cultural representative. Additionally, trigger warning, I am going to be talking about death here. If you're not comfortable listening to that topic, I suggest you maybe find a different series. But if all this sounds exciting, or at least useful, please like and subscribe, and join me as I guide you through adventures in death and the afterlife.